Hello everybody, this is James from Isotropic, and in this video we're going to talk about several free plugins that you can use to increase the performance of your WordPress website. So the reason I have this screen up is to kind of introduce who I am if you don't know who I am. I create WordPress websites. My agency has a subsidiary called SpeedOp, which does enterprise level speed optimization for larger WordPress websites. So I have a lot of experience in this realm of WordPress performance. In this video, we're only going to be focusing on free WordPress plugins and free methods that we can use to eke out a little more speed from our WordPress website. I understand that the best tools are always going to be paid, but many people just don't have the money in their budget to focus on purchasing the tools that you need to make a faster website. And actually, there are a lot of great free plugins and methods out there to increase the performance of a WordPress website. And I actually use many of these tools in my production websites and my personal websites instead of some of the paid tools. So when I talk about paid tools, it's like WP Rocket, Perf Matters, Asset Cleanup Pro, stuff like that. I actually use some of the free tools to replace the paid tools because of my hosting setups. So something to consider here. This video is going to kind of just give you a big introduction to all of these free plugins. Some you may know of. I hope you haven't heard of many of them. They're kind of low on the radar, but they really work and they do great things. So with that being said, let's get right into how to make your WordPress website faster for free. So the first two things to consider if you haven't built your WordPress website already is how you actually build the site and how you're hosting the site. Hosting is paid, so that's just something to consider, and I'm going to kind of talk about that, but this is a free plugin video, so we're going to be talking about free plugins in a second. But how you make your WordPress website is important. You need to focus on being as lean as possible with how you create it. If you're using a page builder, try to use a page builder that outputs low bloat code. When you're actually creating the website, try to be as lightweight on the number of elements that you use. So you want to balance the actual design, the functionality, and just making the page as light as possible. After building the website, the next most important thing is hosting. Hosting is paid. It's always going to be paid, and it's something that you need to spend money on. So hopefully, if you're saving money by not purchasing premium WordPress speed plugins, you should put that money towards good hosting. Good hosting leads to a faster WordPress website, leads to better ranking because your website loads faster, better user experience, more conversions, more money in your pocket. It's a worthwhile investment. I use Rocket.net, which is this tab right here. They start at $1 a month for your first month just to try them out, and they include an enterprise level Cloudflare plan plus full page cache plus CDN plus WIF plus great support. I use them on isotropic.co/blog, which is why I recommend them, because I use them personally. I believe the cheapest plan is like $25 a month. So if you're looking for hosting, that's my recommendation. And with that being said, no more paid stuff. Let's get right into the free plugins that we can use to speed up our site. Okay, so number one on this list of free plugins that you can use to speed up your WordPress website is Cache Enabler, and this is created by KeyCDN. And implementing a cache on your WordPress website is one of the best ways to increase the speed of your site. And what any cache does is, as it says here, it creates static HTML files, stores them on the server's disk, and then when somebody goes to load the page, it serves them the static file, the static HTML, rather than implementing PHP to generate the page to then display it to the visitor. So it cuts out a bunch of processing steps, and serving them the static HTML page makes things just go a lot quicker. It also stops using up server resources. So instead of using server resources every time somebody loads a page, it uses it once, and then every time it refreshes the cache, it will use the resources rather than with every page view. I think this plugin, out of all of the free plugins out there, is my favorite because it's lightweight, it does what it says, and you can actually see results as soon as you install it. You install it, you enable the cache, and then you're good to go. It's a faster website out of the box. You can read through all of the information here. You can also see that it's pretty highly rated. I actually use this on my WordPress blog, isotropic.co/blog. I do not use any paid plugins because I host on Rocket.net. That's http HTTP2 hosting, so I don't need to merge and minify, or I don't need to merge at least, but I do want a cache, and that's what I use this plugin for. You can also see that there's additional just very interesting features that you can make use of, such as minification, WebP support, custom post type support, and then you can also use it alongside additional optimization plugins. So if you're looking for a free cache plugin, this is my recommendation. I use it on a bunch of websites. It works very well. It's super lightweight, super simple to understand. Here's a screenshot of all of the options. This is literally all of your options, and that's about it. Up in your admin toolbar, you have the option to easily clear the entire site cache or clear a specific page cache. Other than that, you don't really get much more, and it's a great free cache enabler plugin. So that's the first plugin on this list. Next up is a plugin called Flying Images, which is a complete solution for image optimization. And this is by a developer behind the WP Speed Matters blog. Great blog out there that helps augment the content on Isotropic regarding speed optimization. And this guy knows what he's talking about, and he has the development skills to create products like this to help you increase your performance. So you can see here, this is a quote unquote complete solution for image optimization, and he's not lying when he says that. There are a bunch of different things, but the main feature here is that it integrates with a free unlimited CDN. So the free unlimited CDN enables better geographical performance, but it also allows you to do on-the-fly image compression, on-the-fly WebP conversion, responsive adaptive images, native JavaScript lazy loading, and a couple other things. So primarily the CDN here, the benefits that you get with this free CDN is when somebody needs an image, it's on the fly compressed. The compressed images are then served via the CDN, and that's just less data transfer plus the geographical proximity to the visitor by the CDN. It's just a great solution in regards to image compression. The same thing is applicable to the WebP conversion. So it converts and delivers images as WebP as needed. And that's only if the browser supports it. If the browser doesn't support it, it falls back to the compressed PNG or JPEG. So you're transferring less data, the images will load quicker. And then we also have additional features. We have your simple lazy loading, so you can set up JavaScript only lazy loading. You can set up image background lazy loading. That's a big one because some other solutions don't lazy load background images. You can also just use the normal browser feature that's included in Chrome, and this is a newer browser feature. And it's also just a really small plugin, so it's 0.7 kilobytes. It's not really going to make an impact on the performance of your website, but at the same time, it adds lazy loading and a free CDN for the images, and it's just a great option here. And you can see that the back end is fairly easy to understand and use. You can exclude images. You can set up your CDN, so how much you want to compress it, how much you want to, if you do want to enable the WebP, anything like that. So great solution for images. On the topic of Statically, which is the CDN that the Flying Images WordPress plugin uses, Statically has their own plugin which allows you to integrate their free CDN with WordPress. And I actually did a performance test with this and wrote a blog post, which I'll link in the description below. But Statically will serve your images, but also your CSS, JavaScript, and any other static assets on your WordPress website for free. So you're basically getting access to a free CDN. And you may be thinking, oh, free CDN doesn't sound very good. This is actually a really good CDN. I definitely invite you to check out the performance testing that I did with this, but it's a free CDN that's actually known as a multi-CDN. So it bunches together a bunch of different providers. I believe the Google Cloud CDN, the Cloudflare CDN, Bunny CDN, a bunch of those. It kind of merges them together, chooses the best one for the visitor's area, and then serves assets from those CDNs. And you can see that it comes with a bunch of different features, but You can replace your CDN.js URLs with Statically. You can use it for static assets, so primarily CSS and JavaScript. You can use it for the core assets. You can use it for your WordPress emojis. There's an open graph image CDN, image optimization, which is included on the flying images, so there's some overlap between these two. But when it says it will drastically speed up your WordPress website, that is true. It will. So read the speed testing if you want to see actual speed statistics in regards to this, but it's a very easy plugin to use as well. All you have to do is create an API key by going to their website, and I think it requires an email, and then you're good to go. You can choose different things. There are some experimental components to this, and the developer behind it is actually really responsive. I've talked to him at length about how this works, and it's just a really good tool if you're looking for like a free CDN integration. Okay, now we're back to the old developer from WP Speed Matters, and this is a plugin called Flying Pages. And this Flying Pages plugin doesn't technically speed up the loading time of your site, but for a visitor, it speeds up the perceived loading time of inner pages on your site. So hopefully you'll understand how that works after I introduce it. So when a visitor is hovering over a link, what this plugin will do is preload the page. So all of the assets, it will preload all of these pages onto the browser. So when the visitor clicks on the link, then the page will load almost instantaneously. So technically, it didn't load any quicker. It just loaded before the user got to it. But it sees the intent that the user has to go to the page, loads the page, and by the time the user decides to click on the link, the page is already there, and it's a near instantaneous solution. It's a really small plugin, so 1 kilobyte gzipped, and that's essentially what it does. You can read more about how this plugin works. There's some information regarding how it works with your server, if the server's busy, how it works with slower connections. But it's a very simple plugin that improves the perceived loading of and you can see here are your settings, the perceived loading of a page. And here's a demo from that Speed Matters blog. Let's see if, so I'm going to hover over here and it loads the assets as I hover over it. I click on it and it's a near instantaneous load. So you can see, pretty cool. It doesn't technically speed anything up, but it speeds things up more than enough for the perceived load, so your visitors have a near instantaneous solution. Very cool solution, and this is very neat for both you and your visitors just to mess around with. The final plugin on this list, actually, I'm gonna add one. I've been thinking about it as I've been talking, so I'll add one to the end of this list. So the second to last plugin on this list is Flying Scripts by WP Speed Matters, and this is a tool that allows you to download and execute JavaScript on user interaction. So what that means is when you're loading your page, you have a bunch of JavaScript being called, maybe from third-party locations, and that JavaScript, when it's loading, impacts the rendering of your page. So your page will load slower because it has to load all the JavaScript and initialize everything and make sure everything's running good. And then once it's done that, and this depends on how you have everything set up, but once you've done that, then it will render the rest of the page, and it can add a lot of time to the rendering process of the page. Those are called render blocking resources. To eliminate that, this plugin allows you to download and execute the JavaScript on user interaction, not on page load. So what that means is that I load my page, I load all my HTML, CSS, and mandatory JavaScript, but any of that third-party stuff that I don't need immediately to make sure the page loads and looks good, anything else, so maybe a functionality like an embedded chatbot inline or something like that, I don't need that until the user actually commits to using the page and moves or clicks or moves the mouse. So what this does, it will download and execute or run the JavaScript when the user begins using the page on user interaction rather than when the page loads itself. So here you can read the kind of selling points here. JavaScript is resource heavy. You delay the JavaScript, you make the page load quicker. What you can do is include keywords of things that you want to load delayed. It will leave everything else alone. And this is helpful if you know you have third-party scripts from maybe, say, like you're using Hotjar and you have to include their JavaScript. You can say, my keyword is Hotjar, and it will delay and load Hotjar tracking when the user begins to use the page. It also has a timeout, so if somebody waits for like 5 seconds, say they load the page in the background that's not a link. Say they load the page in the background by going to new tab and they're still on this page, the plugin will wait for 5 seconds or 7 seconds, and then it will load all of the JavaScript. So I think this is a really helpful tool, especially if you have a JavaScript heavy website that does exactly what it says: download, execute on interaction. The final plugin, which I just added here, and I kind of remembered because I use the premium version of this, but it's Asset Cleanup. Oh, I spelled it wrong, maybe. Yep. Okay, so Asset Cleanup, there's a pro version of this plugin, but the free version of this plugin is more than decent as per the 100,000 installations and the 945 5-star reviews. So this free version, it's the light version, so you're missing out on some features. But with that being said, with these the free version, you can easily select CSS and JavaScript and disable it on a per page basis. This is really helpful because a way to speed up the loading time of any WordPress page or any website page as per Google recommendations is to remove unused CSS and remove unused JavaScript. So some WordPress websites will load CSS for a specific plugin, let's say, on every page globally, even if that plugin isn't being used on the page. So I like using Gravity Forms as an example. And I don't know if they fixed this, but maybe they haven't. But this is just an example, so don't hate Gravity Forms because of this. But say you're only using Gravity Forms on your contact page, Gravity Forms will load its CSS styling throughout the entire website on every page load globally. That's not good because that CSS is completely unused, so it's an unnecessary data transfer when you're loading, say, a blog post that has no Gravity Forms anywhere near it, anywhere on it, no need for Gravity Forms styling, but it still loads. So that's your unused CSS. To fix that, we can use our free version of Asset Cleanup, and we can just select the files, and you can go here and read everything. You can just select the files that you want to quote unquote offload from that page, like this, unload from the page, and just toggle it on. And then when you toggle that on, it will disable all the styles for that specific page. There are a bunch of additional features here, such as font optimization, Google font removal, stuff like that. I would use this plugin for that font thing as well as offloading CSS. So this is just a great addition to that list. So hopefully this video was helpful in helping you figure out a couple free plugins, free methods to speed up your WordPress website. There are really good things out there for free, but there are also really bad things out there for free that do absolutely nothing. So hopefully this video kind of pointed you in the right direction. If you have a small budget and you're trying to figure out what to spend it on, get good hosting. And it can be rocket.net, linked below. It can be another company we like using is Cloudways. It can be raw DigitalOcean servers. I have a tutorial on YouTube on how to do that. It can be good hosting, but you need to invest in good hosting because that's one of the most important things to focus on. Apart from that, you can piece together some really good free plugins that will seriously speed up your WordPress website for free. So caching, image optimization, free CDNs, JavaScript delay and execution, inner pages loading on link hovers, offloading assets that aren't used on the page, as well as a ton of other things. There are just a bunch of great free solutions out there. So hopefully this video was helpful in showing you those free plugins. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments section below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it. If you found this video helpful doubly, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I like covering a lot of different things WordPress-wise, but I specialize in speed optimization. So if you have any specific questions regarding that, feel free to reach out. Check out the links in the description. All of the plugins are linked, as well as some WordPress articles on my blog that I wrote about this topic precisely, as well as links to those hosts that I recommend. Okay, until the next video, I won't see you in the next video. I will.